Julia Roberts and Denzel Washington. Why these two actors? Callahan was played by Sam Shepard in the character who was murdered.
Well, Julia, when I read the book, when I read the treatment outline, I saw Julia, and I went down. I talked to John Grisham, and he said, "Well, you're seeing Julia because I'm seeing Julia as I write it." And I had met with Julia a few months before that, just having seen her in a couple of pictures, including Pretty Woman, and I felt I'd love to work with her. And we had 3 hours together and just talking about life, and I felt this is somebody I can communicate with. There are wonderful actors you should work with and wonderful actors you shouldn't work with. We just don't have that spark together.
Right.
So I saw this. It was very right for her. I was fascinated by it for other reasons. I love the idea of one person taking on the establishment and winning. It's in a lot of my films, obviously. It's a great fantasy of mine. And and so I went to Julia and I said, "This is absolutely right for you." I said, it needed somebody who was strong but also very vulnerable. And it needed somebody who was bright enough to do this. And she related very strongly to the material. Denzel was her idea. I was going through all the appropriate leading men in Hollywood and hadn't come up with anybody where there was great enthusiasm. And
in other words, you had not found at that time, before she suggested Denzel,
I had
somebody that knocked your socks off. You said, right.
That's it. No, I had not. And I felt it was that the film could very easily get conventional. And she called me. She was in Ireland one day, and she called me and she said, "Sit down, but what about Denzel Washington?" And I said, "Well, he's a wonderful actor." I didn't think about him, obviously, because the part had not been written black.
Right.
He never says what he is. And then I thought for about 5 seconds. I said, "It's a wonderful idea. I believe he's a journalist. He's wildly bright. He has strength, and I want somebody playing opposite you who has a strength because it makes you stronger, because you really are two collaborators." And I met with Denzel. It turned out he had majored in journalism at Fordham. And when I sent him off to what I call the Bob Woodward School of Journalism for Actors, the one that Redford did, the people at the Washington Post said this man could be a journalist. So, and there was something exciting that was happening. The two people work well together. First day of rehearsal, you just knew these people work well together. And beyond needing very good actors in those roles, this is a movie, the way movies were movies in the 40s when stars were stars, and it needed wonderful actors who also had big star quality. It's not just that they can open a picture at the box office, but who fill a screen with that excitement that makes us look up and say, there's something bigger than life that's thrilling. A kind of glamour, as well as having a truth and reality. And Julia has that, and Denzel has that, and something between them, and its quality of mind as much as anything else, and the way they played off of each other, was very exciting. And that's there, or it's not there from the first day of rehearsal. It was there after the first hour of reading through the material, when they kept saying, "We don't need that sex talk. We don't need romantic talk, Alan. Stick with you. You keep saying you want to drive the story. You keep saying pace, pace, pace. You keep saying, let's find the reality, and then after we found it, bury it and go." Yeah. And they said, we can do this without having all this talk about it. And the talk, if anything, just released any erotic tension rather than building it. So it was really Julia's idea, and then I steamrolled it into the film. But
any objections at the studio?
No, they liked Denzel a great deal. They were surprised because it hadn't been written that way. One of the things I love about this film is you have a black man and a white woman, and it's not about race. It's about a journalist and a law student who is solving a case.
So we have Roberts here, Julia Roberts and Denzel Washington. There's a romantic relationship in the book, not in the movie.
Well, you have to define romantic relationship. What's interesting about what happened with Denzel and Julia, and that came out in rehearsal, is there has been a lot of discussion about sex and things like that. And every time they came on a scene like that, they said, "It's going to be there, Alan. We don't have to talk about it." Yeah. And it became much more powerful. Nobody ever says, "I love you." Yeah. They discuss the story, and they're on the story, and that's what it's about, and that's what drives this film. And underneath, by not discussing it, there is a feeling between them that really moves me.
The attraction is there, and the feeling is there.
The attraction is there, and the caring is there.